Hello, my name is Ann Hanna, and I am introducing to you Thomas Jefferson and his program of education for democracy. Thomas Jefferson was a true product of the Enlightenment. He was a follower of Rousseau, he was a participant in and a strong supporter of the French Revolution. And Jefferson was a strong believer in the ideals of the Enlightenment that gave freedom to people to choose their own paths and to have this individualism and individualized freedom that they could fight for their rights and responsibilities that Jefferson saw as coming from their creator. Well, it can be argued that the Enlightenment did replace religion with reason most of the time. Well, many of the philosophers, as we saw in our book, replaced religion with reason during the Enlightenment. Jefferson did refer to the creator in his Declaration of Independence, and he was not an advocate of reason replacing religion. Well, he cannot be seen as an evangelical Christian. Many people identify him as a deist. He did reference the creator in the Declaration of Independence. In addition, Jefferson saw our rights and responsibilities coming from a creator. Given that, he did not believe that governments could take away those rights and responsibilities. If they were not given by government, they were given by a creator, then a government could not take them away. Given those facts of Jefferson's belief system, he felt it was upon the citizens of a republic, of our new republic, when he was living and when he was writing our founding documents, to secure, maintain, and defend those freedoms. He saw our republic and our democracy as participatory. It was not okay to take a back seat. In his view and many other historical viewpoints from this time period, freedom was only one generation away from being wiped out, and it was up to citizens to claim their freedoms, defend their freedoms, and notice when their freedoms are being eroded by the government. To that end, Jefferson supported a strong universal public school education to teach students, who will be the future citizens, participatory democracy. His education, his curriculum was based on the classics. He believed looking at ancient Greece and ancient Rome as the foundation for our republic, for our democracy. He also believed in looking at Enlightenment readers and the writers of his generation as well, the founders of America. He did not believe in starting anew. He believed in looking at what worked, looking at the classical writings, looking at successful democracies and successful freedom gainers in the past, if you will, and emulating what worked. In that, he believed in passing on to students a good basis in rhetoric, which today we know is debate or argument. He wanted students to not only know their freedoms, but to be able to argue for them and defend them. He wanted them to use rhetoric and reason based on classical ratings. That would include, as I said, Plato, Aristotle, Enlightenment thinkers, often himself, and other writers of America's founding period. He believed that the foundation for this education would ensure our democracy. He wanted a universal schooling for all students, male and female, in elementary, what we call today elementary education, what he was calling ward schools. And from there, the best and the brightest would move up to what we would today call middle or high schools, which he called grammar schools. And from there, the best and the brightest would then move on to university. So while we see a weeding out, a winnowing of the best and brightest moving on to high school, what is today high school and university, he did begin with universal schooling for all, regardless of socioeconomic status. For the time period, this was revolutionary, pardon the pun. He believed that the best and the brightest could be discovered in American society, and that should not be limited to one socioeconomic status. If only elites were educated, to Jefferson, then only elites would rule. And that is not how you create this participatory democracy and keep it strong and keep our freedoms for everyone. Of course, it must be said that at this time period, everyone meant white men. We understand that. We know that gains need to be made for women, African Americans, and other minorities. But still, let's not put on our historical hindsight glasses. We do understand, well, for his time period, education for all, regardless of socioeconomic status, was revolutionary. And his belief system in actively teaching citizens and students to be participants in their democracy and to argue for freedoms, to defend those freedoms, and to know where in history they came from was vital to our nation. One of the authors in my paper had a great quote that I use all the time, and she says that we must teach citizens to be citizens, and we must teach citizens to participate in our democracy because civic participation and democracy don't, in her words, just happen. I couldn't agree more. Civic participation, fighting for our freedoms, the ability to know, defend, and understand our freedoms don't just happen. This must be actively taught to our youngest of today, our high schoolers, our middle schoolers, our grammar schoolers, so that as adults, when they are taking care of us, when they are the adults, they have this basis that Jefferson wanted in rhetoric, reason, and reading to defend our freedoms and keep our democracy strong. Thank you.